Did the crowd change the referee's mind? The Declan Rice controversy that has the entire football world talking. If you watched Arsenal's Champions League semi-final first leg at the Atletico Madrid Stadium on April 29th, 2026, you probably still have your heart racing. A late penalty awarded to Arsenal, then taken away after 13 long VAR checks. A furious Declan Rice, a calm but controversial Diego Simeone, and now a possible ban hanging over one of Arsenal's most important players. This is the story of a night that no Arsenal fan will forget in a hurry, and it is a story that is far from over. Let us break it all down, from what happened on the pitch, to what was said after the final whistle, to what it all means for Arsenal's dream of reaching the Champions League final. The night everything boiled over, Arsenal and Atletico Madrid met in the first leg of the Champions League semi-final at the Metropolitano Stadium in Madrid. The game ended 1-1, which on paper looks like a fair result. But if you ask any Arsenal fan, they will tell you that scoreline does not tell the full story. Late in the game, Arsenal's Eberechi Eze went down inside the Atletico penalty box. The referee, Dutch official Danny Macaulay, pointed straight to the spot, penalty to Arsenal. For a few minutes, it looked like Arsenal might steal a huge advantage heading into the second leg back in North London. But then came the VAR review, and it was not a quick one. The referee walked over to the pitchside monitor and watched the footage again and again, 13 times in total according to reports. By the time Macaulay came back, the decision had flipped. No penalty, game stays at 1-1. That decision caused an explosion of reactions from the Arsenal camp, and right at the front of all that anger was Declan Rice. What did Declan Rice actually say? After the match, Rice sat down for a post-match interview with Stan Sport and did not hold back. He said clearly that he thought it was a clear penalty. He felt Eze was fouled and that the contact was obvious enough to warrant a spot kick. But it was one particular sentence that has put Rice in serious trouble with UEFA. Rice said that he believed the fans provoked the decision and that their reaction changed the referee's mind. Think about what that means for a second. He is not just saying the referee got it wrong, he is saying the crowd influenced the referee. He is suggesting that the noise and pressure from 68,000 Atletico Madrid fans in their own stadium pushed a supposedly neutral official into reversing a penalty decision. That is a very serious claim, and UEFA takes this kind of thing very seriously. Why could Rice actually get banned? Here is something every Arsenal fan needs to understand. Under UEFA's rules, it is not enough to just say a referee made a mistake. Every player and manager is allowed to express disappointment about decisions. That is normal football. Referees get things wrong sometimes, and players are human, they are going to say so. But there is a clear line. When you suggest that a referee was influenced, biased, or pressured into making a decision, you are crossing into much more dangerous territory. You are essentially questioning the integrity of the official. You are saying the decision was not based on football, but on outside pressure. UEFA's disciplinary body is now reviewing the official referee's report from that night. Depending on how Macaulay described the events in his report, and depending on exactly how UEFA interprets Rice's words, the Arsenal midfielder could face a ban. The big question for Arsenal fans is this: will any ban affect the second leg? Right now, Rice is expected to play in the return match on May 5th back at the Emirates. That is good news. But if UEFA moves quickly on a suspension, or if the ban covers a potential final, Arsenal could be without one of their most important players at the worst possible time. So let us ask you directly, do you think Rice was right to say what he said, even if it risks a ban? Should players speak their truth, or should he have stayed quiet to protect the team? Arsenal manager Mikel Arteta was not happy. Either Rice was not the only one from the Arsenal camp who was furious. Mikel Arteta, the Arsenal manager, also made his feelings very clear when speaking to the media after the game. Arteta used the word unacceptable to describe the decision to overturn the penalty. He felt strongly that Eze had been fouled and that the penalty should have stood. The fact that it was reversed after so many VAR looks only made the frustration worse in the Arsenal camp. Arteta is always careful with his words. He knows the rules around criticising officials, but even he could not hide how angry he was. When your manager is calling a decision completely unacceptable, you know the mood inside the Arsenal dressing room must have been dark that night. So what did Diego Simeone have to say about all of this? Now let us flip to the other side of the story, because Diego Simeone had his own response to the whole situation, and it was about as calm and unbothered as you could imagine. Simeone, the Atletico Madrid manager, who is famous for his passion and intensity on the touchline, defended the VAR decision completely. He argued that the contact between the Atletico defender and Eze was minimal. In his view, it was not a penalty. Players go down in the penalty box in big Champions League games, and referees and VAR officials have to be careful about rewarding that kind of thing. He also defended the VAR system itself. His argument was straightforward. Sometimes VAR gives your team a decision and sometimes it takes one away. That is just how it works. On this night, it worked in Atletico's favour, but on another night, it might go the other way. On the surface, this all sounds very reasonable, and Simeone is not wrong that VAR can go either way. But here is where things get complicated. The touchline behaviour that nobody is forgetting while Simeone was calm and collected in his post-match press conference, what happened during that 13-look VAR review on the pitch was a very different story. During the lengthy review, Simeone was seen aggressively stepping out of his technical area. He was on the pitch, pressuring the fourth official, gesturing and reacting to every moment of the review. English pundits and football commentators watching the game were very critical of his behaviour in that moment. And here is the point that many Arsenal fans are now making on social media. If Declan Rice is being investigated for suggesting the crowd influenced the referee, why is nobody looking at what Simeone did on the touchline? Is a manager stepping out of his technical area and gesturing aggressively during a VAR review not also a form of influence? Is that not also an attempt to affect the decision? This is a question a lot of people are asking and it feels very important. So what do you think? Should Simeone also face some kind of disciplinary review for his touchline behaviour during that VAR moment, or was it just normal passion from a football manager? The 13-look VAR review that changed everything. Let us talk about this VAR process for a moment because it really is at the heart of everything. 13 looks. The referee walked over to the pitchside monitor and reviewed the footage 13 separate times before reversing the decision. That is not a normal number. In most VAR reviews, the referee watches the clip 2 or 3 times and then makes a call. 13 looks suggest real uncertainty. When a referee is that uncertain, what eventually tips the balance? That is the question Declan Rice was really asking, even if he expressed it in a way that has now landed him in trouble with UEFA. Was the contact not a penalty? Maybe. Football decisions are genuinely difficult sometimes. Defenders and attackers are always in contact in penalty areas and not every fall deserves a spot kick. But was the process itself clean and free from outside pressure? That is a harder question to answer, and it is the question that will keep Arsenal fans talking for a long time. What does this mean for the second leg on May 5th? The return match is at the Emirates Stadium in North London on May 5th, 2026. Arsenal are at home with their fans behind them and the tie is level at 1-1. Everything is still very much to play for. Right now, Declan Rice is expected to be available for that game. No ban has been confirmed and UEFA investigations take time. Arsenal will hope the process moves slowly enough that Rice can play his part in what could be one of the biggest nights in the club's recent history. But here is the risk Arsenal have to think about. If UEFA does decide to ban Rice, even for one game, the timing of that ban matters enormously. A ban that kicks in during the second leg would be a nightmare. A ban that covers a potential final would be even worse. Rice is not just any player for Arsenal, he is a leader in that midfield. He controls the tempo of games, he wins the ball, he distributes it quickly. Losing him for a big game would hurt Arsenal badly. So every Arsenal fan is now watching the UEFA calendar very carefully, and Declan Rice's next public statement, if there is one, will be read extremely closely. A night full of questions with no easy answers. The deeper you go into this story, the more uncomfortable questions you find. And that is what makes it so fascinating and so frustrating at the same time. Was it a penalty? Many Arsenal fans believe it was. Many neutral observers think it was at least a borderline decision. Atletico supporters and Simeone himself say it was not even close. Did the crowd influence the referee? Declan Rice thinks so. Whether that is true or not, the atmosphere inside the Metropolitano during a Champions League semi-final is one of the most intense environments in world football. Denying that crowd noise and pressure have no effect on anyone inside that stadium is a very hard argument to make. Should Rice have said what he said? That is a personal question. He was honest. He said what he believed. Many fans respect him for that. But honesty comes with consequences, and those consequences could cost Arsenal in the most important games of their season. And perhaps the biggest question of all, is UEFA applying its rules fairly? If Rice faces a ban for suggesting crowd influence affected a referee, is Simeone's touchline behaviour going to receive the same scrutiny? If the answer is no, then a lot of people are going to feel that justice is not quite as blind as it should be in football. What Arsenal fans need to watch between now and May 5th, here are the key things to keep an eye on as we approach the second leg. First, the UEFA disciplinary update. Any official communication from UEFA about the Declan Rice investigation will be massive news. If a ban comes, the timeline matters. Watch for any announcements in the days leading up to May 5th. Second, Rice's public statements. After speaking so openly to Stan Sport, Rice or Arsenal's communications team may decide to walk back some of those comments or at least clarify them. Any further statement from Rice could either make his situation better or worse. Third, Simeone's touchline behaviour review. Watch to see if UEFA addresses what Simeone did during the VAR review. If they take action against him, it suggests a balanced approach. If they do not, expect more frustration from the Arsenal camp. Fourth, Arsenal's midfield options. If Rice is suspended at some point in this run, Mikel Arteta will need a plan. Who comes into that midfield? How does Arsenal's shape and style change without their most influential midfielder? Tactical conversations around this are already starting. The bigger picture, football's ongoing referee problem. This whole situation is also part of a much bigger conversation happening across football right now. The relationship between players, managers, officials and the VAR system has become one of the most talked about topics in the game. Referees are under more pressure than ever before. Every decision is watched by millions of people, replayed from dozens of angles and debated endlessly on social media. At the same time, match officials are expected to be perfectly consistent, perfectly calm and completely unaffected by the environment around them. Is that realistic? Probably not. Referees are human, crowd noise is real, pressure is real. The question is how much of that should be openly acknowledged in football and what the consequences should be for players and managers who speak about it. Declan Rice might be paying a price for saying out loud what many people in football think privately. That is not a comfortable situation for anyone. And it is a situation that UEFA needs to handle carefully and fairly if they want to maintain the trust of players, clubs and fans. Final thoughts, the story's not over yet. Here is the truth. A 1-1 draw in the first leg of a Champions League semi-final is not a bad result for Arsenal. They are still very much in this tie. The second leg at the Emirates is there to be won. Arsenal's home form has been strong, their fans will be in full voice, and this team has shown all season that they know how to handle big occasions. But the shadow of this controversy is not going away. The referee question, the potential ban on Rice, the spotlight on Simeone's touchline behaviour, all of it will follow both teams into May 5th and beyond. For Arsenal fans, the message is clear. Stay loud, stay hopeful. The Emirates second leg is a huge opportunity. And whatever happens with the UEFA investigation, the team still has the chance to write a beautiful story in front of their own supporters. For neutral fans of the game, this story is a reminder of why football is the most emotional and debated sport on the planet. Nobody watches a game and stays quiet. Not the players, not the managers, not the fans. And sometimes that passion spills over in ways that have consequences nobody expected. One thing is certain. When Arsenal and Atletico Madrid meet again on May 5th, every single moment will be watched even more closely than usual, and the football world will be holding its breath. What do you think the result will be in the second leg? And should Declan Rice have kept quiet, or was he right to speak his mind? Let us know in the comments below. We want to hear from the Olivia Sports Arsenal community. The journey to the final is not over yet, far from it.